Hello everyone and welcome to another LSC Transfer Room stream. Joining me tonight is three brilliant guys. I've met Mihai before. Dan and Hamid are new to me and brilliant they've done so far. And it's nice to have them back on tonight. Welcome guys. Welcome Dan first and foremost. John Henry's name I've been hearing.
I don't know if he's actually in Boston right now. He may actually be in Pittsburgh with his next new team, but I can, if anybody needs to know his address, I'll send it out to everyone so you know we can go and see if we can find his wallet lying around.
Yeah, well, we said it the other day. I think Mihai was on the other day. James had taken it apparently. We didn't get any confirmation of that with the police or anything. John Henry, though, yeah, it would be nice to get an exclusive, though, Dan. If you can maybe knock on his door.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, I'll try. I'll drop his DoorDash off one day and see if I can swindle him into a conversation. For the most part, a very charming fellow, and he's actually really nice. You know, I've heard from people that have talked to him, like, you know, he's very soft spoken, very kind of intellectual, reserved, and like kind of a nice guy if you get a chance to talk to him. But he's also like who likes to be likes to be heard, but not seen.
Fair enough. Yeah, we don't see him at all, do we? Mihai, how are you doing, mate?
Pretty good. There's a thunderstorm coming, so in case there's weird sounds, just so you know, it's probably that.
No, absolutely no. Real life, mate, honestly. Evening, everyone in the chat, by the way, before I get to Harmony. Moose, Anfield Lad, you'll never walk alone at 66, usual people. And Harmony, how are you doing, mate? Two nights in a row.
Yeah, I know. It's good to be back. And yeah, it's good to see people in the chat. Obviously, lively. Everybody's coming on. So yeah, let's have a good show, lads.
Jen, as always, thank you for coming on every night. Another regular. We're getting a few regulars now, and it's becoming more of a community for me, and it's so nice to see everyone back in the chat, and it just shows that we're doing something right if they keep coming back. One thing that isn't going right, though, Dan, is transfers at the moment. I mean, we've got McAllister out the door, Szoboszlai, nothing since, and now there's talk about possibly no one else coming in. But let's talk about defenders first, then. Perr Schuurs from Torino, centre-back, 40 million euros, I think he's going off for Dutch centre-back. Mm-hmm. However, he plays in a free centre-back role. Do you think that's someone that Liverpool should be looking at?
I mean, I'd be surprised if it wasn't someone. I would be surprised if they weren't looking at him. I think we've kind of seen, especially with Szoboszlai or Szoboszlai, however we like to say his name now, that Liverpool have a very long list of players they're looking at, and they have a file this thick on everyone's background, everything else. I don't watch Torino that much. I haven't really watched a lot of Serie A recently, especially not Torino, so I can't talk about Perr Schuurs specifically. I know the Dutch centre-back we are all looking at initially was Mickey Longlegs Van de Ven, who I have seen play and I do like, but is obviously very raw. He's definitely someone they should be looking at, especially if they're not going to buy a midfielder right now, because they have that one non-homegrown registration they can make for their squad. So, which I imagine is why they haven't pursued Thuram now that they have Szoboszlai. They should definitely look at him, but I think there are other. I think we're probably going to get onto a couple other center backs, but there are definitely other better prospects out there that we will be talking about more. They should look at him, but he should be like probably third, fourth, maybe even fifth. On that list of defenders that they should buy.
How many do you reckon there's a bit of lazy scouting going on? Because we seem to be just going through Dutch centre backs. I mean, we started with Timber, and then we went on to Mickey Van de Ven, and then now Schuurs. Is this just being a bit lazy on their part?
No, I just think that they have a list of players they've been looking at for the past couple of years, looking at who to replace as Van Dijk's gotten older and everything else. I don't think it's lazy scouting. I think it's just like, well, we saw with Bastoni that Bastoni was linked for like maybe a few days, and then he signs a new contract, and now at Inter, now he's probably going to stay at Inter. I don't think it's lazy scouting. I think it's more the fact that everyone knows that Liverpool probably have scouted every player in Europe and have some degree of contact with or some degree of relationship with, and it's more that, I think it's if I say lazy journalism, I think it's more the fact it's just easy journalism to link Liverpool's name, because it's like if Perr Schuurs wants to go from Torino to Juventus, the only thing he needs to drum up interest is say like, oh, Liverpool looking at him in many ways.
Jen Asper, thank you for the £10 super sticker. You are back in the LC transfer room more than Henry's back in Jurgen Klopp at the moment. So keep it coming. I mean, we couldn't thank you enough for what you do. Harmony, carry on with Schuurs. And Total Sport have said that we're expected to go in for him. Do you think we're going for him?
No, I don't believe so. I think I kind of, to go with what Dan said, is kind of lazy journalism. I think they just kind of, they'll find a player, especially in a position that we need, and just kind of label us on that player, just to kind of suck in the fans and get us all excited. And maybe, you never know, FSG is probably paying for these journalists to probably do this to keep us, distracted away from the fact that we might not be able to sign any players. But it's kind of like the whole Mbappe situation. They're labeling us our name on that, and I'm just like, please just stop. Honestly, just stop. It's not going to happen. If they're walking away from Jude and he's going to be so much more cheaper, why the hell would they pay 200 million plus on Mbappe? So yeah, I don't believe we're in for him. I do believe we can get 2 more players in. I think it's just kind of, it has to happen, because if we start the season with the requirements that we have right now, we'll do well, but I still feel we'll tend to struggle a little bit. I still feel like we're probably 1 or 2 more signings away from really being complete. So yeah.
Do you feel like we're going to be left short again then, Harmony?
Yeah, I think so, because I'm just more concerned about the players that we have that can get injuries. We know Fabinho can get a little knock here and there. If he does, then who's going to come in? Besesic, he's just coming back from a long injury, and for him to really get up and running, it's going to probably take him a little while. So let's just say Fabinho does get injured in the start of the season, touch wood and hope that it doesn't happen. But if it does, then we're in trouble again, because we have no one else that can play there. Hendo, yeah, he does play there, but he's not good there. He doesn't like playing there. Hence why, Klopp moved him up, or he spoke to Klopp and Klopp, listened to him and moved him up. So yeah, that's why I do believe we definitely need a position where Fabinho is, and a centre back as well, to kind of give us the flexibility to change formations and to change the way we play in the games.
Mihai, the problem with Schuurs is the fact that I said at the beginning, he's a centre back in a back 3, and he plays on the right hand side. But going on to a different person is Levi Colwill for Chelsea, and he is a proper centre back that we should really be looking for. He's a left centre back. He can play left back. Exactly what we need, because we need that Van Dijk replacement, don't we? We need that Van Dijk cover, because on the right hand side we've got Matip, Gomez, and Konate. Is Colwill more suited to Liverpool than what Schuurs is, do you reckon?
Yeah, the easy answer is yes, but there's a lot of factors involved. I think what Dan and Harmony just said about the journalism thing, I think it's the same with Colwill in a sense, because I do think he's a great top center back, obviously, and anyone who signs him would be, they've done great business, but I don't see how Chelsea necessarily sell him now. I think they've just held off Brighton. Okay, if Liverpool comes in, it's a bit different, but still, I don't see how Chelsea are actually selling him right now, especially to someone in England. So I don't know. And the thing with Schuurs as well, I honestly never really heard of the guy before, and the £40 million transfer thing that I saw is a bit, out of nowhere, and I don't really get it.
He was at Ajax when Ten Hag was there.
Yeah,
he was at Ajax when Ten Hag was there. He screams like a Ten Hag sighting.
I mean, with Colwill though, Mihai, it is a bit complicated at Chelsea, because, like you said, it's a fellow Premier League club. It's a rival, as it were. We're rivals with Chelsea, but it seems like the player does want to leave, and Ben Jacobs has come out and said that he needs to force the move if it is going to happen with Liverpool. But I don't think Liverpool are even bothered. I don't think they want to push it as much as they should do, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't even know at times, because we talk about FSG being not really that ambitious, and then 2 days later we signed Szoboszlai out of nowhere, and that's again, you feel a bit ecstatic, and you wait for more signings, and you kind of, it's the thing that can happen with Liverpool is that it goes quiet for 3 weeks, and then in 2 days you sign 2 players out of nowhere, and it's all good. So I don't know necessarily if we would know if Liverpool is pushing for anyone right now, if they're actually serious. So yeah, obviously, I think for me, Colwill next to Guardiola, who's probably going to join City, these two are probably the best upcoming center backs in Europe. So if you could sign one of them, it would be great for us. But yeah, I don't really see it happening.
Another centre back that's actually came up in reports today. It's a random report. It's by Peter O'Rourke, and I think it's Footy Inside. I think he works for, and that's Mark Gahey, Dan from Palace. £60 million, Mark Gahey. That ain't happening, is it?
I don't know, but I mean, 60. I mean, listen, I think Gahey's a good center back, but if we're going to 60 million on a center back, I'd rather just go to Chelsea and say, hey, Chelsea, here's 60 million. You need money. Give us Colwill. Or I would just go do what we've done with the Spurs for the past couple of years and just been like, oh, Mickey, you're a Spurs. No, you're not. You're gonna come to Liverpool like we pulled with Diaz last year, and we pulled with Gakpo and United this year as well. I don't see Gahey really happening either way. To what Mihai said earlier about Colwill, about whether or not that's going to happen, I do think Liverpool is serious. I know I said, I think a few streams ago that he seems like the big one that they have pointed out, like the Van Dijk sighting, the big player that they know that they really, really want to get, that just screams generational center back talent, his on the ball presence. But right now he's with England in the under 21s. So if we were going to sign Colwill, the likelihood is that he would not be signed until 2 to 3 weeks from now. For the most part, we probably wouldn't hear any solid news on that move as well. Again, with Mark Gahey, like you mentioned, again, I just think that's lazy journalism, because we all know Liverpool need English players. They need the homegrown players. They can't really sign. They can only sign one more non-homegrown. So it's very easy to say, okay, who's a defender, who's English, who's played, X amount of games. Because Perr Schuurs has like 250, and it's kind of now become a thing that Liverpool love players that have played, a certain amount of games. So it's like, okay, have they played X amount of games? Have they played at a team that knows how to play football? Linked to Liverpool as well. I think Gahey would not be a bad signing. He probably would be a really smart signing, but not for 60 million. Like at 60 million, you could buy Thuram and Nicky van de Ven, and
they might as well go for Vardiol.
Yeah, exactly. Go for Vardiol. Which the Vardiol thing is very interesting, because City didn't pay the release clause, and now they're having issues negotiating with Leipzig. So even though it looks like City are going to probably get Vardiol, it's going to take much longer than it had they just paid the release clause.
That's what happened to us with Szoboszlai if we didn't pay the release clause in time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was much better that Liverpool pulled that trigger early, and they were like, okay, we got this release clause, let's just get it done now, because we're not going to get anywhere with Leipzig.
It just seemed like, Dan, Colwill is the one then, regarding that we're pushing more than most. And Nasio was one that was reported quite a lot, but it seems like Colwill is the one at the moment. But again, it's trying to get him out of Chelsea, like you said, forcing the move. Liverpool aren't known to going into these sort of negotiations where they've got to really try hard, if that makes sense, and convince Chelsea to negotiate the price down. Only a certain amount of price they'll bite the band off at players, but if it goes past 40-50 million, it's not going to happen, is it? And Agent Elliott's trying his best on Instagram at the moment, but it's not going to happen, is it?
Yeah. I mean, if it was going to happen, it probably wouldn't be this summer; it'd be next summer, which is what I speculated, is that they'll probably push for Colwill, but he would probably be someone that they could definitely get next summer, because by that time Colwill will either be a permanent Chelsea player or not, and therefore they have a better negotiating position. I think it's more likely that we go for someone like Ignacio at Sporting, or what's the center back at Leverkusen? I forget his name, the Ecuadorian. If someone could tell me his name, I can't remember off the top of my head. But there's another center back at Leverkusen we were linked with. I could see.
I was thinking like Antonio Silva as well from Benfica and Asio.
Yeah, Antonio Silva would be one as well. I could definitely see us just going and getting him out of the blue because I think he's around 40, 50 million from Benfica. We have a good relationship with Benfica. We have a good relationship with the Portuguese league. The last player we actually, the last defender we definitely spent a long time negotiating for was Van Dijk, and up for a while we didn't buy another English player or buy from another English team until McAllister this past year. We were buying from championship clubs, but not really other Premier League clubs for the most part, apart from like youth prospects like Elliott and Carvalho. Oh yeah, someone said it. Thank you. Yeah. Heng Cape. Yes, thank you. I couldn't remember his name because he just came to Leverkusen last year.
And we've got Alonso obviously on board for the negotiations.
Yeah. If someone has Xavi's number, ring him up and see if we can get a discount.
Exactly this, guys. Exactly this. Nearly 100 people watching at the moment. Please like and subscribe. We've got daily streams, videos. Podcast is due out tomorrow. By the way, it's a must watch. We recorded it on Monday with Mo Chatra. Eye opening. A lot said about Night Deal. A lot said about FSG spending and their lack of investment into Klopp. A lot said about narratives created by the club, by the way. So keep your eyes open for tomorrow. Podcast out tomorrow. Give it a listen on Spotify. Give it a watch on here. Whatever you do, it's definitely one to watch and one to listen to. Harmony, let's go into a different position then. Mohamed Salah, Harmony.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be lasting forever, is it? He's going on a little bit. Obviously, he's as fit as a fiddle, probably fittest in the club now. James Milner's gone, but he's only going to be here for so long, and it could even be next year. Where Saudis are coming in now, and if anyone that would make that a big statement would be Salah. Obviously, Arabic coming into Saudi, but. Do we need to look at a replacement now? I think we do need to start looking at a replacement now. And his Lyon winger, Bradley Barcola, one that's up there for you in terms of replacing Salah.
Obviously, to be fair to you, I think Salah still has probably like 2-3 years left at the top level, I believe, because the way technology are working, and then the way the nutritions and everything are like, just everything is kind of upgrading every single year, every single decade is upgrading. Players can last longer and longer and longer and longer. That's why you see Ronaldo still playing at the age he is. That's why you see certain players going into their late 30s and still playing football. But yeah, you're right. We do need to try to find a replacement. If not this window, next window, we definitely need to try to find somebody that can come in and kind of challenge him. Not someone that needs to be on the bench, but someone that can make Salah stay on the bench for at least 1 or 2 games, and he doesn't really play, or he comes off the bench. And looking at the market, I don't really see anybody that I think that would suit that role, that would give us something similar to what Salah has been giving us. Obviously, this young guy, he's talented. He plays in the French league, so that kind of waters down what he does and the kind of the talent that he is. But you never know, he might come to the Premier League and just take off, and it'll be like a good thing that we actually went along and purchased him. So I'm kind of on the fence when it comes to him, because like I said, it's the French league. They just literally just got demoted not too long ago, and the league is not great. It's really not great. So when you see a great player like that playing the way he is in France, you kind of have to take it with a pinch of salt, because you've seen it happen to Arsenal with Lacazette, with Pepe as well. Yeah. So I don't want to be in that boat where we see a guy doing all these amazing things and then we think, yeah, he'll be great, and we bring him in and he just can't hack it in the Premier League. So I don't know.
It does seem like a Klopp player, though. He gets back a lot. He's very good at defensive work, even though he's a right wing. He's very good at defensive work, good at finishing. He gets involved in a lot of key passes and key assists, and he's a bit of a playmaker from the right wing. But he's 20 as well. Is it worth taking a punt in the next, obviously this year or next year, and getting him at a cheap price and nothing? what's the worst that can happen? If we get him at a cheap price, we sell him for dearer, or it just don't work out.
Yeah, that could be something, but I think it, especially in that right hand side, is such an important position for us. Is that I don't want it to be an experimentation. I want it to be a guy that we know as fans, and obviously as the coaches, they know like this guy when he comes in, he's going to be serious. Kind of like a Luis Diaz, how we did it for Sadio Mane, to the point where he was so good that we had to move Sadio to the middle so we can just accommodate him to play on that left wing. So I want someone like that. Like I said, I don't see anybody in the market right now apart from Mbappe, but obviously that's not going to happen. So apart from him, to really take that position. And I think the player that we're looking at right now, he plays mainly on the left as well, because he's right-footed, isn't he? Yeah, he's preferably right-footed. So I would prefer a left-footed player, someone that can cut in, and obviously if they can use their right foot as well, that'll be brilliant. But preferably, I'll prefer a left-footed player that can come in and, take that strike and obviously just break down players like Salah does. But it's going to be really, really hard to find that kind of player. Hopefully, we are looking at that, and we are scouting at certain players that we don't know about yet. The media doesn't know about it yet, and and we get
the days of right-footed right midfielders and left-footed left midfielders have gone out there.
Yeah, they're gone. They're coming back. They're gone. They're gone completely.
Yeah. Iron Robin changed a lot throughout the Premier League years. Let's go on to midfield then, Mihai. Midfield. We've got Szoboszlai in. We've got Alexis McAllister in. Szoboszlai, by the way, we're going to find out tomorrow on the podcast how that could have been paid for, because it wasn't paid directly from the club, from what we know. Do we think we'll bring another one in?
I still believe that we do. A few weeks back, Fabrizio, I think, said, I don't even think it was a few weeks. I think it was right after we signed Szoboszlai. He tweeted that the plan was always for Liverpool to sign 3 mids this summer. So, I mean, if he said that, I choose to go with him, and I choose to believe that. And I think it obviously makes sense for us to do that, but probably by selling someone. And as I see there in the title, I think there's one guy who's probably going to leave this summer in case we get some decent offers for him. Obviously, the links have gone cold in the last few days, but I guess it's kind of normal now. We probably shouldn't expect us to sign, players in quick succession. I still think Lavia is the one to go for right now, but there's a lot of teams interested, and that price tag is not necessarily something to, look past.
Jump at, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think we'll wait and see if we get some offers, probably for Thiago, and if the club wants him to go, then yeah. If he wants to go and then the club wants him to go, then yeah, obviously we need to sign someone else as well.
It's funny you say Lavia, because 2 reports have come out today about Lavia, Romeo Lavia. David Lynch speaking to This Is Anfield that we are considering a bid. Considering is a new word, by the way. I like monitoring, exploring, interested, eyeing up, anything else, but considering a bid at the moment, but we're not looking to push. However, Dean Jones has also said that we've taken big strides to take over Arsenal regarding this transfer. Which do you think we're leaning towards more? We're not bothered about pushing it? I think we have taken big strides.
Yeah, I don't know. I was actually thinking about it today. It depends on how much Klopp wants to rotate this year. And I think we've seen that last year. We've seen that Klopp is finally starting to realize that he needs to rest players a bit more. I think he was in those seasons in 2018-19, I think we used to play a very similar 11 pretty much, most of the games at least. And now I think last season we've seen Klopp starting to rotate a bit. And now Lavia, if he's going to come in, obviously he's going to play as the DM in that midfield. And it's probably going to be a midfield of 3, I assume. still. So I think it depends on how you want to view it. I've seen someone say today about the DM position that we would be okay by having Fabinho and Bajcetic, which I don't necessarily agree, because now we play a lot of matches, we play in Europe. So if Fabinho, let's say, gets an injury for 2-3 months, then you only have one DM, and then you're not really that covered, and the other DM is a 19-year-old Bajcetic. So honestly, I don't know. I just have to wait and see a bit more about the links with Labia.
Aaron, is it DM that we do need then? Because we've been linked with Kearney, we've been linked with him. Tchouameni is obviously going to be one that's going to come up in reports sometime soon, I presume. But Thuram for me was number one in my. Obviously, he's not a DM, but is it a DM or more of like a Thuram? Do you think we should be looking at?
Because I think a DM is really important. I think so. I think it would have helped us a lot if Joe Gomez was kind of reliable. Then we don't really focus on too much on a centre back. We can be like, okay, Gomez can play there, and we can just focus on getting a DM, and we'll be good for the rest of the season. But because he's unreliable and him and Matip are so injury prone, we have to go for a centre back as well. So I think a DM will be important for us, but at the same time, we do need a centre back as well. So I think it's kind of hand in hand. We need one side, we need a centre back, and the other side we need a DM, because
is it going to be an ultimatum again though, Hammond? Is it going to be an ultimatum again where they've got to choose one or the other? Why can't we get both?
That's what I was saying last night. I said, we're Liverpool Football Club. We should never be content to figuring out if we should get one or the other. We should have the money in the bank. What have we spent for the last 3 seasons? Honestly, like, what have we spent? We haven't really bought any players. The season that we won the Premier League, that transfer window, I don't believe we bought anybody. And then the season after, that's when we bought Jota. After that, we bought Thiago, and then we bought who was Nunez, and that's it. And we barely spent any money. You're telling me the money that we got from the Premier League, the Champions League, qualifying for the top 4, all of this, where did they all go? Like, where did it all go? Where did this suddenly just all disappeared, and we don't have no money in the bank? We have to sell players to buy players. When did Liverpool become dormant? When did Liverpool become these, like, with a small mentality like this? And that's what bothers me the most, is the fact that we are being put in the box where we're a big club, but we have to act like a small club. And it's frustrating.
Dan, where did it go? Has he got a new yacht? You probably see it quite often. Do you walk past it?
I mean, I agree with Harmony in a very general broad sense. I don't think the money's actually gone anywhere. I think there has always kind of been money there. It's just always been a decision of when do we spend and who do we spend it on. This has kind of been their approach ever since Klopp came in. They're very, very picky about what we commit to and everything else. I mean, after the year we won the league, that summer, all the money kind of went into wages. Now, whether or not we want to really buy into that narrative is another whole conversation, because we got all that prize money in. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the money's always been there. And for the most part, we've been able to be ahead of the transition and bring in more players as we've over the past couple of years. So we brought in Diaz before Mane left. We brought in Nunez. We brought in Gakpo before Firmino left. And, right now with the mids, I think it's Harmony said we probably need to buy both. I would agree, unless we're thinking of a situation where we're buying a defensive mid who could also play center back, which is something I had listened to recently, which is someone who could possibly do both. Which, going back to your original position demo, which is Thuram. I think Thuram might actually be the midfielder they buy to convert into a DM, but also someone who could potentially play a third center back position. Now, I would not want that. I'm just speculating on what they might end up doing as well. I do think they.
I mean, we've got it with Fabinho and Bajcetic. Bajcetic was centre back at kind of level. Fabinho plays well at centre back, by the way. So.
Yeah, but I think we all agree that we don't want Fabinho playing center back. Again, after during 2020, 2021, I do think they need to buy both. I think they're going to try and get the center back done first before they decide on a midfielder. And the reason they're waiting to sell someone is not so much to raise money; it's more to open up a registration spot. many ways, which is why there are, like, if you look at the two players that are linked away most heavily, Thiago and Fabinho, they're both players that either play on the left side, which is where we have not Gary Mack, Alexis McAllister and Curtis Jones, and which is where Thiago would play, and defensive mid, which is where Fabinho plays, and Bajcetic is the backup to him right now, you would say, and/or Henderson or Thiago as well. So I don't think the money's gone anywhere. I just think that they're just very picky about what they spend it on.
Holding
Yeah.
it. They're holding it.
So to cut you off, I just want to ask a question, but to kind of not challenge you, but kind of just to kind of get your perspective on this. Yeah, I get that they're kind of picky on who they spend it on and whatever, but if you know your club that you own needs specific players to improve so they can continuously challenge, and what that does, that brings revenue to your club, to your stock, and makes that club. Wouldn't you do as much as you can to make sure that club stays up? Because if you really think about it, when we were up and we were winning, we were competing, we didn't spend anything. You know, we went years and we didn't spend nothing. We just sat there and we became neutral. That's why we're in the position we are now, because we didn't invest while we were winning. Because Sir Alex said it himself. He said, while you're winning, you got to keep strengthening. You got to keep strengthening.
Guardiola as well. When he had
but we didn't do that. That's what the frustration is with fans, is the fact that when you're up, you got to keep strengthening. You can't stay stagnant and expect yourself to just continue being there and challenging. And as much as Klopp is a great manager, he can only do so much. You know what I'm trying to say? He can only do so much. And you got this guy competing with Man Cities, with the Chelseas, with the Newcastles of the world, and you expect this guy to continue to do miracle with little pennies that you know what I mean. So that is where I'm feeling. That's why my frustration is coming from.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. I don't disagree on that fact at all. I actually think that was the ultimate. Well, if I say failure, that may sound too heavy, but I think it's probably the most apt comparison. The ultimate failure in the planning was that the players that you would have brought in over that period that could have kept Liverpool, you know, if I say competitive, it's maybe the wrong idea, but consistently competitive at the top end, you know, challenging City, challenging for the European trophy, which, I mean, you know, we have been to 3 in the past since Klopp's taken over. So we haven't been uncompetitive, but we've definitely been working on a much tighter budget than you would have liked. And no, I absolutely agree. I think the strategy was, and it wasn't a bad strategy, but it was definitely one where there was more hope than, you know, it was much more hope than concrete, where they were trying to buy young players, buy young center backs, get kind of like the young players in earlier, which about my microphone there, and kind of hope they developed rather than buying concrete players. Now, what I would say is the fact that a lot of the players we were linked to at the time did not explode into like world-class players, except for like Mbappe, which we all knew, and last year Tuchel, because at that time we were linked with players like Timo Werner. We were linked to Kai Havertz, you know, as a replacement for, you know, Florian Neuhaus a couple of years ago, Dennis Zakaria, you know, just a back as well. No, like Harvey, I completely agree with you, and I would actually say that I think that they kind of figured this out now, that they kind of made errors and they're trying to rectify that, but they're rectifying mistakes made 3 years ago. And I think that's and ultimately that is the frustration, that we're trying to make up for the fact that, you know, that these were 3 years ago mistakes, and it's like, oh crap, we got to fix this now. And it's kind of hard to fix a mistake 3 years ago currently. But I absolutely agree with you.
What Helios said up there a little bit, I noticed the Helios comment, and he said something about the third party. Watch the podcast tomorrow, Helios. So we do mention about the third party, and Mo Chatter goes into it quite a bit. He's the one that said that there was a third party used to buy the Soberslide deal, and it does make a lot of sense, because we don't have £60 million in the bank just to throw like that. We probably do, but we never do that, do we? And that's what we needed. We needed to throw £60 million at it then, because it was a release clause. There was no negotiating anything else, no installments on that. Regarding another comment here about where is it now? Let's get it up. I did have it a minute ago. The Inacio, you know, I think that's a very, very good point there, because Inacio is is another versatile player. Could he look at DM as well? I just think they're barking up the wrong tree. We don't want really a centre back that can play DM. We need both, and we need to stop this bullshitting around anything else. We need both. Stop getting players that can just do everything. We had James Milner. James Milner, the only goalkeeper James Milner had left to play. We don't, it's nice to have versatility, but stop relying on one person to do it all. You know what I'm saying?
No. I miss James already. I miss Mohamed Milner. Mohamed Milner is like, yeah, he could do everything. I kind of miss him already. He could have been our backup goalkeeper instead of Adrian or Kelleher.
I feel like we're trying to buy a one-man band where we're trying to play the guitar, do the piano, play the drum with the foot, and whatever else with other body parts they've got. But we need a band. We need a single person in the band. We need a drummer. We need a guitarist. We need a lead vocal. A one-man band is not the way to go.
Unless you're buying Prince. Prince is the only one-man band that ever existed. So, and I don't think we have any. There's no Princes on the market right now.
Prince Boateng, is he still available?
Oh God, please no. I don't need a 35-year-old doing rainbow flicks and half volleys on the edge of the 18-yard box.
We'll continue with midfield and Dan, because this is the one that I really want to talk about. Obviously, the Thiago situation. Chris Bascon from Telegraph said that we are willing to sell Thiago. Obviously, Saudi Arabia coming in for him. We got him for what, 25 million, Thiago? Could we get that back? I think we could get that back. But let's talk about midfield now, and if we are going to pursue one, because James Pearce from Athletic has said that we won't pursue a midfielder unless we sell someone. Should we have to sell Thiago to get another midfielder?
We shouldn't, but it's, again, kind of just a situation we're in based on just how many non-registered players we have. I don't think the selling of Thiago is for money's sake. I don't think the issue really is around money. I do think they do have money, but, and
ain't gonna be much money anyway, selling.
Yeah, exactly.
Big, 30-40 million that's going to spend for another centre midfielder.
Yeah, exactly. We've heard it every single year that Liverpool are scant, everything else. It's like the reality is obviously not, but you don't go to a car dealership and say, it's like, oh, I got tens of millions of dollars and I want to buy this car. How much is this car? Because the seller's going to go, oh, it's $1 million. Many ways. No, I don't think we should sell Thiago. And from what we've other reports, I think Liverpool are willing to sell any player. Like, completely honest, I think they would sell anybody at the right price, from Alisson to Van Dijk to Nunez to Salah. But obviously, to sell Alisson and Van Dijk, someone would probably have to give $1 billion or something.
That's to drag him out. They'll have to drag him out.
Yeah. Yeah. But with Thiago, it seems like the reports are being that he is obviously available, but he himself, I think, through his contact, he said he doesn't want to go. I don't think Thiago was probably the most likely to move, though. I think it would probably be Fabinho, just because that Thiago, even though he's on a high wage, he only has 1 year left, and Liverpool have been willing to let contracts run down, regardless if that's a good strategy or not. We could discuss that in a bit more detail. But they shouldn't have to, but they've kind of made this self a situation that if they want to buy two midfielders or buy a center back and a defensive mid who are not English, they would have to let Thiago go. Because if they let Thiago go, they can definitely bring in Thuram and Ignacio or whoever else they wanted without really any issue beyond structuring the terms of the deal. So
that's the problem, isn't it? You said they could, but they won't. And they've proven that in the last 4 or 5 seasons that they won't do what we want them to do. Mm-hmm. And before we do get onto this, I've written out a timeline, by the way, of what's going on, and I'm going to ask you all if you think we're going to sign up centre midfielder. But I'm going to read this timeline first, and before that, please make sure you do like and subscribe. We've still got 81 people watching, 100 people watching. Please like and subscribe. Podcast out tomorrow. Daily videos every single day. Live streams every single night. We're going to try to get 10-minute videos out every now and then as well about maybe players, expert analysis and things like that. We've got lots of interviews coming up. Big movements in this LFC transfer room right now, and I want everyone to be part of it and everyone to enjoy what we give you guys. So before I ask you all if you think we're going to sign up for centre midfielder, I'm just going to go through this timeline. Okay. Before the season broke up, Jurgen Klopp was asked about transfers in the summer in a press conference. He says he did warn us that we may not sign enough for some people. That's the first thing that happened just before the transfer window opened, just before the season ended. Transfer window comes around, we sign Alexis McAllister for 36 million. Reports not so long after that, by the way, said we're starting to look at the budget now. We're starting to look at the budget. we've already spent this. We've spent £36 million. We're starting to maybe be a bit more restraints on the budget now. Even though it's only £36 million, by the way, that should be absolute pennies to a club like Liverpool. Then we get Dominic Szoboszlai out of nowhere, basically. But again, as we will find out on the podcast tomorrow, that there could be a third party involved. It's either a third party involved or a funding from an investment that may come in, that's paid for up front, because we don't pay for £6 million up front. Liverpool Football Club don't do that under FSG. We don't pay £6 million up front. What that third party could have done is paid for that, and we pay that third party. It's a funder, basically. We pay for that in instalments over the years, which may affect then future transfers. That will come into, and then obviously recent now is the James Pearce things. We won't be pursuing more midfielders. More people are saying it like we're not even looking at Lavia now because it's just too much money, or we don't agree with bringing any more midfielders in. Harmony, that timeline does not look good, does it, in terms of looking for, are we going to get another midfielder? I wrote it all down because I needed to write it all down, because people forget what has been happened in recent things, because I'm writing about it every day. It's in my mind every day. So, Harmony, it's not looking good, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all. Especially, it's very alarming when you say we spent 36 million and the budget is kind of tight now. That's an alarming sign. That is very, very alarming for fans to hear. And I'm sure probably Jurgen Klopp probably heard that. He said, "What? So what? I thought you said I had money in the bank. I thought you said you were saving this war chest, for the summer. Where did it go? Where did this war chest go? Where did it disappear to?" And the point, what kind of hurts us more is the fact that we had to use a third party to get a player.
It's basically like a loan shark, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I know other clubs have done it in the past, which is, I'm not saying is a bad thing, but the fact of the matter is that we had to use a third party to spend 60 million on a player. I'm sorry. If that's Man City, that's not happening. If that's Man United, that's not happening. If that's even Everton, because they got money, that's probably not happening either. To be fair to you, it's not happening. So why is it happening to us? And that is the question I'm kind of asking, just to have a better understanding of where is the finances that we had, the winnings, the earnings that we've made, we accumulate over these years. Where did it all go? Where did it all disappear to? Because that, if we can give that explanation to fans and the explanation is clear and makes sense, then fair enough. Us fans, we can be okay, fair enough. We don't have no money, then we got to bring our expectations down and we got to look at other players. That's fair. But if you keep hiding things and keep saying, yeah, we got money, and then when it comes to the transfer, we don't have money, we got to do this, we got to get money from here, we got to get money from there, and then bring it together. We got to sell a couple of players to bring money to get another player. It's like, now you're getting fans frustrated. Now you're getting fans to the point where they're thinking, you're just taking a piss. If you ain't got the money, if you ain't got the finances, sell the club and leave. And let someone else that has the money, that has the ambition to put in the club and to invest, and they want to see successful, like Liverpool to be as successful as they used to be, and be on top of the English league as we used to be, back again. We as fans, we have suffered. We have gone through the Gerrard phases. We've seen the struggle that we had to go through. Our hopes getting up thinking, yes, we're going to win the league, and then Gerrard slips at the wrong moment, and then we lose the league. And with the Steven Gerrard and notorious moments where we thought we were going to win the league and we came second to Man United, it was, you don't understand the pain that Liverpool have gone through. The whole Gillette situation that we have gone through it. So once you've given us a taste of success, we want to continue.
Don't take it off us.
What I mean? It's so frustrating. That is what is frustrating. The fact that we had the taste of success, now it's going away, and we're thinking, no, we do not want to go back. Please, we don't want to be sitting down with Arsenal fans and debating, and we can't say nothing back to them because they can laugh at us, they can throw top four at us, they can throw Premier Leagues at us, they can throw whatever at us, and we just have to sit there and take it because we have no ammo to fire back at them. We have that ammo. So keep us there and keep us, keep us excited to continue being Liverpool fans, because right now what you're doing is just, I don't know.
Hey, true vibes though, Jamie. True vibes. That's what it is. True vibes.
Nah, Jamie. Listen. I don't want to be negative. I really don't.
No, I don't. Yeah,
I want to be positive. But mate, you got to look at the situation we're in right now. Like you just broke it down. Look at the situation we're in, and look what we are going through as Liverpool fans. Yes, it's great that we signed 2 players. We're grateful for that. But you haven't done something that you weren't meant to do in the first place. You know what I'm trying to say to you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like you fed your kid. Well, hello, you were meant to feed your kid. Like, we're not gonna clap for you and be like, hey, well done, you done your job. That makes no sense, you know what I'm trying to say. So I'm not trying to be negative, guys. I'm just being real with you, and I'm just giving
real. Yeah, that's what we do on this channel. You'll notice that, guys. Whoever, if you're new to the channel, we're real. That's the thing with us. We don't hide. We don't beat around the bush. This is straight up facts on this. Mihai, I'm going to quote a famous Italian philosopher. Why always us?
Yeah, quite the philosopher you've chosen for the quote. Yeah, I don't know. It's one thing that I'll never forget is when we won the league, and I remember it's obviously we were all over the moon. I remember I have a friend of mine who's a City fan. Don't judge him too hard. I used to talk to him ever since 2018, since we started, battling for the big trophies. And I said to him, okay, so we won the league. Now we're gonna sign big players. Now we have the money. Right now, it's finally gonna happen. Now we're gonna, go and keep on winning the big trophies. And then I remember we sold Lovren to Zenit that summer, and I was like, okay, now we need a center back, just someone to cover. And then the weeks passed, and they passed, and then we didn't sign anyone. And I was like, okay, I guess that could work. And then we all know what happened the next season, where we were one Alisson header away from not qualifying for the Champions League, and then we somehow qualified. We went on a great run, almost won the quadruple, which is, hurts me to say it now every time I remember it, but that's another thing. And then it happened again. We almost lost Champions League football in 2021, and then we did lose it this year. And then it's because of the same things, because FSG have never really backed Jurgen. And I see people saying, we signed Nunez for big money, and then a new stand is being built on Anfield, and that's where all the money is. And I'm like, no, we've qualified for 3 Champions League finals in the last 5 years, or 6. Sorry, we've won a Premier League title. We've finished second quite a few times, and the prize money for finishing second is quite the prize money as it is. So it's just a matter of ambition. And I remember when we were linked to Szoboszlai, again, I was talking to this friend of mine, and I was telling him, we're probably not going to get him. And it's the same with us Liverpool fans. Probably every time we are linked to a player, we're like, it's probably not going to happen, is it? We're not getting him. We've seen this story before, and it's happened. And every time you kind of start to be excited, like we were, I don't know, with signing McAllister and Szoboszlai, and again you start to see things like, Liverpool are cooling down interest in that player, and then in that player, and then we need to sign. We know we need to sign a DM and a center back, and I'm just, is it gonna happen?
We can't get excited, can we? We can't get excited. Like I said, it's happened over and over again. You're having these conversations with half the City fan base as well, as so. To have these conversations with City fans, I say City fan, half the City fan base that it shouldn't happen to a club like Liverpool, man. We're watching City win the treble, right? By the way, a club that's come from nothing. Obviously, they got the money back, but they don't spend like £100 million players, do they? Obviously, the Haaland thing was a bit of a funny one because they're spending like £100 million a year on him, but there's deals to be done out there, and it just seems to be like we're holding back. Like Dan said, we're either holding back or we just can't be asked. We can't be asked making these signings because FSG have got their mind elsewhere. So someone said it on the chat earlier. They're looking at a new golf venture. They're looking to get their NBA thing started up. They're probably looking into UFC at some point. Probably might buy WWE off Triple H or something like that. They're looking elsewhere rather than just focused on the clubs that they do have. Mm-hmm. And Dan from Boston, I know he's told me that he's not a Boston Red Sox fan, but he probably speaks to Red Sox fans every single day.
Well,
How
I was.
How are they actually feeling about this?
Oh no, they feel exactly the same way. It's actually hilarious that we're having this conversation because this is exactly what's happening on Boston local radio. Like they were just having this conversation, how like they were saying like a couple years ago, it's like we had hope for a young team, and it's like now they're just like treading water. They have no hope. They're in last place. They're not a terrible team. They're just average for the most part. Going back to like what Harmony said earlier, I do understand that anxiety that we always feel that anxiety as Liverpool fans that like we're going to just fall out from the Champions Leagues. We've had success. We don't want to lose that success, and we want to keep on top of that keep on top of that as much as we can, because we can, like, we're not idiots. We can, like, all of us in this stream, like, we can look around and see the money that's coming in, and we're like, oh my God, we're going to get left behind. That's a really like palpable fear and anxiety for a club that we love. A historical club like Liverpool, that has meant so much not just to the Merseyside community, but so much to just English history in the 20th and 21st century. This has kind of always been FSG's thing, and I think at this point, I even said before, it's like, in a world where there wasn't financial doping, I feel like FSG's model would be more sustainable. But with the realities of the competition, we're looking at a situation where there's only so much they can really do. And even though they, to some extent made back Klopp, it's always just not enough. If you're constantly getting 7 out of 10, or like your windows are just one player short, after 3 or 4 years, you're now 4 players short. If you're 1 player short every single transfer window, eventually you're going to come to a point where you need to fill 4 or 5 positions like we're having to do this summer as well. Going back to what Mihai said and what Harmony said earlier, even I agree with this. Even though we are signing good players at times, it's always like we're making up for last year's mistake, or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years ago as well. And and since we are on the topic of midfielders, I think that yes, they should buy a DM, even if it's Thuram or Lavia. Whether or not they do one or the other really just comes down to who they're signing for center back, or what their plan is for that as well. And we probably won't see that until probably by the end of the window. I think we're probably going to get to the end of the window, and we're probably going to have 3 players, and we're going to be like, and there's going to be one more they signed on loan. I'm just going to call it. I have $5. Well, I guess I have to do it in pounds. So I guess £5 that we're going to get oh God, who's available right now as a center back? We'll get James Tarkowski on loan from Everton at the end of the window. We're gonna have another Arthur Melo by the end. Yeah, because
Ben Davis reunited.
Hey, listen, I'll have Ben Davis back. That man came from Preston. He had a good life, and he came back, bring him back for the vibes.
No, we're not doing
that. I'm joking. Obviously, I do think they will sign 4 by the end here. It just may be a couple weeks before we see who's going out or who's coming in. And if we end up with 2, like it's just vibes this season. Listen, I'm crossing my fingers, and it's just gonna be vibes.
Vibes FC.
Yeah, we're gonna be Vibes FC. We're gonna be Handsome FC, Pretty Boy FC, Vibes FC. But I do think they will end up getting 4. It just will depend on who's going out.
When you said you think FSG model will work in a financial, it wouldn't work in a financial doping situation. But
yeah,
do you think it would have worked through the Premier League when Fergie United? Because I always think we're like Wenger's Arsenal, where Wenger really didn't get backed as well as they should have done. And he always came second all the time to United. He was always the second fiddle to United. Never won the Champions League. Good in the FA Cup, but it was always that kneeling man again, like Klopp is with Pep Guardiola right now.
Yeah,
and
I mean, yeah.
Let's get rid of the myth, by the way, about Man United don't spend, because they spent the most in that Premier League era under Fergie. They kept breaking the world record, by the way. So whilst they haven't got City for overspending now, that's what they did. It just the fees were a lot different back then.
I mean, I think it's an interesting comparison. I would mostly just disagree, just because when Wenger was at Arsenal, he was the one in power. He's the one who helped design the Emirates, and they had a very 1970s, 80s approach to what football was in terms of finance. I think when I say FSG model, I'm not talking about, not spending money. It's more about looking into the data analytics, expanding commercial partnerships, which you guys are talking about in the podcast with Mo. And they put really smart people in positions of power that make key decision makers. Like our Michael Edwards is. Obviously Jurgen Klopp. They wanted Klopp before they even brought in Rodgers, but they couldn't get him out of Dortmund. So they're really, really good at like identifying talented people that can maximize opportunity. And they've even done this in Major League Baseball. But the problem is in Major League Baseball is that if you're not spending money, you're not winning. And it's kind of
they're
the
great
same thing.
businessmen, aren't they, mate? They're great businessmen. They're good at getting people underneath them to make it work of what they've got. They're basically like, imagine giving Asda, I don't know if you know Asda over there, but it's a big supermarket over here, Asda, give them toy tills, but someone's going to help them working that toy till very well. Yeah. And they get the right people, if they get like 2 3-year-olds working that toy till, or used to working that toy till, then it's going to work. But if they get a 50-year-old guy from I don't know, Birmingham to work that title, he don't have a clue what the title does.
No, I completely agree, and again, like this is just this is just something that has kind of been very consistent with them with FSG as the model they kind of brought in back in 2000 ways. And again, like I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm grateful that they spend money on players. It's like, no, that's what you should do. It's like you should spend money on players to improve the squad, what it needs as well. And that's why I think that this will happen, not because it's like not because it's some like hit and hope, but they obviously understand that these are things they need to get done. It's just whether or not we're able to ship some players to open up some spots in order to bring those players in.
I mean, you said it earlier, but like kids, feeding your kids is something that you have to do. Feeding and clothing your kids, providing them a stable house. Yep. But sometimes that kid needs that time with the parents. Sometimes they need to have a game or something like that, play snakes and ladders, something like that. It's those little things that we're missing from. I feel like we ain't got any connection at all with FSG. No. They rarely come to the club. They rarely come to the city. They've got no connection with the fans, really. They come out and apologise every time they fuck up. That's the only time we really hear them.
Yeah.
And we know what their mind is. We know that they just want to create us money. That we know that they're coming in and using us as a business to get the highest value. Because eventually they will sell at some point in the future. Whether I'm hoping it's like now, but in some point they will be selling, and their aim is to sell it at the highest value it can possibly be.
Yeah.
And everything they've done that's positive in the last 10 years is because to get the value up. The stadium, the training centre, which was loaned, by the way, loan money. It wasn't anything to do with them. The stand, again, loan money. It increases the value of the club. Even sometimes some of the transfers that we've made, it increases the value of the club. Jurgen Klopp increases the value of the club. Everything is about the value of the club rather than what being successful on the pitch. We as fans, we can't have that. We don't give a shit about what you spend. We don't give a shit about what the training facilities allow. As long as those fucking players can train on the pitch and get to the best they can be and go on winning trophies to be the successful club that Liverpool Football Club is meant to be, then that's all we give a shit about. That is all we care about.
Yeah, no, that's true. Everything you said is very true. And it's just, it's kind of, what they're doing is kind of contradicting themselves. Because if you want to bring the value of the club up, that the club got to be successful. If you want your club to be worth the same, let's say just, for example, Real Madrid, it's got to be successful. It's got to be winning stuff. It's got to be competing. It's got to be bringing stars that brings values to the club, that will make sure that shirt sale number is going off the roof because you're bringing star power to the club. If you're not doing that, all you're doing is just keeping the club either at the same price or diminish, bringing that price down. And it's just frustrating when I'm looking at it. We using excuses of, oh yeah, we're building a stand or whatever. Real Madrid are building the whole stadium. And look what they're doing in the market. You know what I mean? They're building the whole stadium and they're brought in like three or four players already. And if you look at that Real Madrid midfield, it is absolutely it just hurts your heart just to look at them and thinking, oh my gosh.
And they just bought that Fenerbahce winger as well today.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be crazy. That team, the next 10 years, next 5 years, no one's touching that midfield. Not Man City, nobody, because that midfield is elite. Because and for example, that's, if you just look at them, that's a great example. They had your old players, But what they brought in young players to learn from the old players and then slowly start integrating those players. And they just kept doing that to the point where now you look at the midfield, as soon as Modric leaves and Kroos leaves, they ain't going to have no problems. They got Camavinga, they got Chouameni, they got Valverde. You know what I mean? They got Bellingham. Like, for what trouble are they in? What trouble are they in? They're not with us though. As soon as we lose these players, who do we have? If it wasn't for this summer window, who do we have? If we lost those players and they're old now, like, who was going to replace them?
And we're losing Klopp soon as well, Harmony.
Exactly. And I feel like that is when they're going to realize they'll probably sell. When Klopp leaves and they try to bring another manager in and he can't do what Klopp did, they're going to realize, crap, we got to sell now. Because this manager needs much more what Klopp needed, and we can't do that. We can't, fund him. We can't help him. So we got to sell. So that's just the realism as fans. We just got to wait until 2026 when Klopp leaves. That is when these guys will actually leave, because there's no other manager in the world that I can see that can do what Klopp just did. Not Pep. I don't think Pep can do something like what Klopp did. He needs finance. He needs to be backed by the board. And that's why if you see his track record, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, now Man City, he's been backed by the board. Yes, Barcelona was more like, he inherited a great team and he built them up, because I can't sit here and say he's not a great coach. He's an excellent coach. Mm-hmm. But in terms of financial backing, he always had it. We can't say the same for Klopp, because he had that in mind. He didn't have the financial backing. In Dortmund, same thing. And he came to Liverpool, the exact same thing.
It's not even that sort of level financial backing we need. It's just a little bit extra of what we're doing. We're left short every single summer, and it seems like we're going to be left short again.
Exactly.
Mihai, let's finish on something different then. I'm sick of talking about FSG. I've done it for 5 years now, and I wish it was back when I was a kid, where I wasn't even talking about finances. Finances weren't even in my mind as a kid. It was like, get a play for the door, excited for the new season. But the fact that we've even come to talking about finances just shows where we are as a club, doesn't it? And let's just move on from FSG for last 10 minutes of this stream then, Mihai. The reports are from David Lynch again through This Is Anfield that Gakpo looks like to be the starter above Nunez. Is that the right move from Klopp?
I think from what we've seen, especially at the end of the season, probably, yeah. I think Gakpo has been. I don't know if anyone expected him to be as good as he was, and to just come in, and he looks like a natural, in that team. He looks like he's played there for quite a few years. The thing that I want to say, though, about Nunez is I think just in case there's anyone who still thinks he had a poor season, let's just think about it that way. The guy came from Uruguay. He was, I remember I read about him, I've seen at the Champions League magazine, something like that. He basically grew up really poor, and then
he did.
And then when he basically played for a club in Montevideo, then came to Benfica, and then the whole thing, basically the guy grew up poor. He didn't train like any guy in a privileged position or an upcoming footballer in the West did. He grew up the way that he did. He didn't learn English. Why would he? He was 19 playing in Portugal. Came in, he's still learning the language, still learning the system, still growing as a footballer. And for me, the way that he played this season, I think he did pretty much what was expected of him. We didn't expect him to come in and be better than Haaland, because I've seen all those comparisons with Nunez and Haaland in the middle of the season, and how, no one really expected him to be that kind of a player. You can't really compare them. Haaland, again, as I said, played in the Champions League for 2-3 years before coming to Liverpool, to City. Sorry, Nunez barely had a breakthrough season at Benfica. I think, that being said, I know there was a lot of Nunez. You asked me about Gakpo, but yeah. What I wanted to say is that I think the next season we're going to have two amazing strikers, because now I think there's a lot of healthy competition between them. They're going to be hungry to go go out and play. And I think Nunez is going to be a lot better than he was last season. I think at the moment, to answer your question, yeah, I would place Gakpo ahead of him just because of how good he was since he came in. But I couldn't really say that that's going to keep on happening for the next season.
There's a player in Nunez, isn't there, Mihai? There's a player in Nunez, and you said all that, and it's absolutely spot on in terms of they didn't come in English. He's still a young lad, by the way. Didn't know to, and they came in a Liverpool team that was shit. It wasn't that good, was it? We had the injuries to Jota and Diaz, which didn't help, and the midfield was just atrocious. So even Salah had a bad season. I know he got the numbers, but for his standards, he had a poor season, and that's because of the midfield.
And I think all of us who've actually followed Nunez and have seen him play, we all know what he's capable of. And I think the only reason why he got so much, stick online from the other fans is probably that because he did miss quite a few good chances during the season. His finishing obviously needs improving, and his ball control as well. He's a bit too, what's the word, fired up at times. I think he needs to learn to be a bit more disciplined, but I think if there's a manager in the world who can help him do that, it's probably Jurgen, and that's why I'm really excited to see him grow.
So Dan, do you agree with me? Is Gakpo the person to start and then maybe get Nunez underway a little bit and see how it goes? Would you throw Nunez straight in?
Well, it depends on preseason. I honestly think that Gakpo has shown that he is absolutely up to playing in this Liverpool team and could easily go to Chelsea on opening day. If we're talking about first week in August, if we need to go and, we got a couple of tough games and we need to go and get some positive results, even if those results are just a draw, like Gakpo, Diaz, Salah, you're talking about a midfield of possibly, McAllister, Fabinho, Szoboszlai, or even, I know people will be mad if we have Henderson there, but he probably will start at Chelsea at least for the first couple of games. I know, but I'm just saying we can't throw Szoboszlai in there just yet. But I do think Gakpo is going to be. I actually wouldn't be surprised. Harmony, I know Harmony's getting worried here for a second. I actually wouldn't be surprised if what we see going forward is we see Gakpo and Nunez playing, but Gakpo is starting in a midfield position. So where Szoboszlai, Henderson would play, and what we might see in some games, especially games where we're playing maybe lower opposition and we're going to have more of the ball, you might see a situation where you have, where it's Henderson, Trent, Gakpo, McAllister as that box midfield with Nunez, Diaz, Salah, or Diaz, Jota, Salah, or Jota, Nunez, Salah. Though I imagine what they'll do is that they'll have Jota and Nunez kind of rotate in and out more so than say, than Nunez and Diaz, because I think that's going to be the thing they're going to work on, is that they're going to play either Jota or Nunez and form and ride them out and kind of use them as being swap them in and out as well. But I do think Gakpo is the starter, and he should be the starter because he's proven it. But I don't think that's not a negative against Nunez. He was really streaky last year, down to injury and just, like Mihai mentioned, and I completely agree with, poor midfield play at times, poor defense at times, poor pressing at times, all those things that just fell apart last year. And I think, and we may not see the best of Nunez in August or September, but when he's in those Europa League games, which is where I think they're going to kind of train him and get him used to his English more and kind of playing in the system, he's going to bang in a lot of goals, barring injury, of course. But, hopefully, he's over that, but, we'll see. He'll come in to the Premier League and probably start really kicking up, say, late October, December time, kind of when Salah really goes off on his scoring streak, during those very brief windows when we're playing back-to-back games.
I mean, we can't take too much positives about the Europa League, but that is one positive we can take away. Klopp can experiment and get his system going. And it's a new system with the Trent thing, and find his best team. That's what we need to do with this. We're absolutely spoiled up front. I mean, we look at his midfield and we look down to the ground, but up front we are spoiled. And obviously, apart from the Salah thing, we spoke about Bradley Barcola earlier. We've got so many output, aren't we? There, Harmony. We've got Diaz, we've got Jota, we've got Nunez, we've got Salah, we've got even Ben Dirk, down to Ben Dirk. Still absolute talent of players.
And Kate Gordon, which I know he was injured because he had a hip growth issue as well. But Kate Gordon is still one of the most highly rated under 18. Like I don't even think he's 18 yet. Like I think he's turning 18, 19. So
I think he's about 18 now. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and when you think back to the last time we were in the Europa League, which was Klopp's first season, our youth players at the time were like Harry Wilson, Shea Ojo, Nat Phillips. He wasn't playing at the time. Yeah, Ryan Kent. And so our youth players now are just so much better than they were back then as well. So the Europa League would kind of give us a chance to figure out which of those players are going to be first teamers, squad players, or sell on because they're not good enough. They're too good to be squad players, but not good enough to be first team 11 players.
And it is a bit of a selection edit for Klopp, but it's a good selection edit to have because he hasn't got that anywhere else across the pitch. Apart maybe Alisson and Kelleher. If we keep Kelleher, that's not a selection edit as such, but it's quite spoiled in that if that makes sense. If Alisson is injured, we've got a decent backup.
Yeah.
Unless Kelleher goes, and we've got Adjam. So that's a different conversation to be had. Harmony, do you agree with the boys? Gakpo deserves a start. I mean, he came in, played that Firmino world really well. And Dan said earlier that not many people are talking about. I actually did I did an article on him before he came to us, quite a bit before, before the World Cup, and it just impressed me during the World Cup as well. And I think he proved to me that he is the kind of player that can play up front on his own. But is he going to have the output that we need, in terms of assists and goals? Does he need to get forward more, do you think?
Yeah, I think Gakpo will be a great frontman for us because what he will allow us to do and allow the midfield to do, especially when you got Szoboszlai in there, is him overlapping him and making those late runs into the box. And I feel like once the fact that we have a player like Szoboszlai, that's going to unlock him in so many different ways. He's going to get so many goals and he's going to get so many assists because what Gakpo was allowed him to do is just to make that overlapping run past him, and a defender would either have to choose, do I come to Gakpo and stay tight and allow space behind me, or do I give him time to turn and then he can just run onto you? So it gives us a lot of dimensions when you look at Gakpo, and I think he will start ahead of Nunez for the first couple of games, but I think with Nunez, I feel like once he kind of gets the understanding of the language, I feel like he'll feel more comfortable in the squad and within the pitch and everything. That'll kind of calm him down. I think when he came in the first year, the price tag was on him. He didn't have a great preseason. There was media report everywhere. Oh, look at the misses, look at this, look at that, and then you even saw him react to some of it. Responding to some certain fans, it kind of got to him. So, and you got people comparing him to Haaland, which I felt like was really unfair because how can you compare a guy like that to Haaland? Because they're two different players, you know what I mean? And they came up with their career paths are quite different. But what I will say about Nunez is, if you look up throughout his whole career, his second season is always when he kicks off. Even the Benfica one, the first season he wasn't really great, injuries, he had a couple of goals, but his second season he just exploded. And hence why you saw a lot of teams going for him. So I'm hoping that's the case for us, where if he can explode, it's going to cause a lot of teams a lot of problems. And I just hope he can get at least 25 goals in the Premier League. I feel like he can. It's just whether he's settled and he understands the system and understands the language where he can communicate with his teammates and, have a better understanding of his awareness of the pitch as well, So, yeah, but I feel like Gakpo is going to bring a lot of benefits to us with pressing and attacking and kind of defending as well at the same time, and giving so much more space, like kind of like Firmino did to all the other players to kind of just do whatever they want to do. And he's just going to literally just drag players left, right, and center, just take them away from their positions and just leave spaces from behind for players like Salah and Szoboszlai and Diaz to just run onto that space. And you have someone like Trent that can pick out a pass, someone like Fabinho, someone like Van Dijk, and you have someone like McAllister that can make that run and still play that through ball as well. So yeah, it's gonna be a good one for us, honestly.
I mean, this is what I'm thinking with Vince. I'm thinking, talking about the Chelsea game, The fact that the Koulibaly's gone, you know, they get him in a Cucurella. It's going to be a new back line, and Reece James has just come back off a big injury. It's going to be it could be a long afternoon for Chelsea. And whether Nunez starts or not, he's going to cause some problems when he plays, because if he cuts onto the left, like I said, Reece James going off a big injury, you don't want to face him. No. You don't want to face him. You don't want to face Szoboszlai coming in now, because Szoboszlai is going to create a lot of space, by the way. When he attacks Szoboszlai, the people are scared of shooting. People are scared of shooting. People are scared of his passing. He's going to be one that's going to have defenders have nightmares the night before the game, because you don't know what he's going to do. And that is going to create space for the likes of Diaz, Jota, Salah. And with Chelsea, with a new back line, that could be an absolute dangerous game to play like Nunez and because that space that Nunez can exploit is going to be there. Me personally, I would go with Gakpo because he deserves it. It's as simple as that. Ever since he came in January, you know, he's been one of the best shining stars, and he was one that sort of changed the way we played. We looked more confident going forward. As soon as he got his goal against Man United, he seemed to be a different player. He got his confidence. He was taking the ball in the half turn. He was dropping deep like Bobby used to do, linking up with players very well. And so he deserves it. But Dan said, you know, let's see what happens in pre-season. If Nunez puts his work in pre-season, plays well in the friendlies, then he might deserve to start as well. But I would personally go for Gakpo at this current situation in time.
Yeah, Demo, and you might even see a situation, like I said, where it's they're starting Diaz, Nunez, Gakpo, and Salah, but Gakpo is starting in like more of that defensive, or like if you do that 3-box-3, he's in like he's that number 10 with McAllister, with Trent behind him, and Fabinho, or even Trent and like someone like Henderson, or maybe even Trent and like Thiago, because Chelsea need to rebuild their midfield. They have like I was looking at their list earlier. They have like 30 players. They still need to register like 10 or 11 of them. And obviously one of them is Colwell, but, like that Chelsea team coming in is going to be very fresh. So, there is a possibility, we'll have to see what happens, that they just go in and just say, like, you know what, like City, I think it was when we played City like 3 years ago now, where they just went 4-2-4 and just put like all the attackers on. It's like, all right, guys, go attack them. We'll see what happens.
I mean, I think it's the best time to play Chelsea.
Oh, yeah.
New manager, new system, new players. They're going to be scared of playing Liverpool that day. There's been obviously talk about on Twitter about the free kick situation, when if Kepa sees a free kick situation and he has Trent, Szoboszlai and Alexis McAllister lining up, he's going to be scared that night before. Because
I was just going to say, I just forgot Kepa's going to be the starting goalkeeper, which is still insane. Like Kepa, like one of the most, I know, like, someone that was like 80 million pounds. And I have nothing against Kepa Arrizabalaga, because he was brilliant at Bilbao, but I just feel like his confidence was shot at Chelsea. But it's gonna be interesting. I mean, honestly, I would just put Szoboszlai in for like 10 minutes and just have him stand like in the center circle, not center circle, like right at the tip of the diamond in the box, and just shoot, and just tell him to shoot. Because I was thinking about this earlier, Demo, but if you think about it, the two midfielders we bought are essentially are kind of similar replacements for what we lost. Like Szoboszlai is very much like an Oxlade-Chamberlain, taller and less injury prone, and McAllister is essentially a Keita Milner mix, where he's very versatile, but is again not injury prone. But we'll see. So it's very exciting.
Yet. Do not say
listen.
We are a slight injury away from Henderson, who's been ball football.
Hey, listen. If that happens, Nunez will probably have like 30 headed goals this year. We'll see.
And we'll end it there, boys. What an amazing stream tonight, boys. Absolute pleasure to have you on. And the numbers again, fantastic. Jen, thank you for your super sticker you did earlier. Pleasure to have everyone in the chat. I was going to do a quick summary. Obviously, we talked about Lavia. Probably not going to happen, because we don't want to push the boat. We don't want to make it happen. I think 50 million is too out of our price range. We've talked about centre-back situation. Colwell looks like the leading guy, but again, it looks like we're not going to push it, because it's something that we need to force with Chelsea. And Chelsea won't want to face Colwell on the first game of the season. Went through Schuurs and Gahey, very unlikely, we well said. And Thiago being sold is something that could happen if we are to bring another midfielder in. And speaking of midfielder in, it's not looking good, Brev. Not looking good.
No, not at all.
Thanks everyone anyway for coming on, and absolute pleasure as always. You'll never walk alone, and up the Reds.